What's up, nerds? Welcome to the Cool Nerd Show. As always, I'm Steve Trezza.
And I'm Devin Burke.
And today we are talking about The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 3, entitled Thank You. So, this review is going to be a little bit different.
Just a tiny
Obviously, spoiler alert if you're watching, so click off now if you haven't heard now, which I'm sure you have. But Glenn seemingly died at the end of the episode.
50% sure he did, 50% sure he didn't.
We're going to talk a lot about Glenn. We're going to get into the predictions of what we liked about that part and didn't like, whatever. That's going to kind of have its own section, and that's going to be at the end of the video. So if you want to jump ahead now, you can click on the annotation. It's going to pop up right here, or you can click in the description, and it'll jump you ahead to our discussion where we start talking about Glenn. Otherwise, we're going to go right along with our review as we normally do. The good, the bad, the predictions, and then we will end. So let's start off with the good. Devin, what do we like about this episode?
This episode was definitely a little bit more Michonne heavy.
It was Michonne heavy.
So she definitely grew as a character in this one entire episode. There was this one person from Alexandria, I forget his name, but it's one of those one-off characters, unfortunately. But she was telling him, like, hey, you're going to make it. You're going to be able to say your goodbyes to your wife because he got bitten. So she's going to try and make him all the way through. She promised him. She even wrote on the thing, like, you're going to come home. The guy doesn't make it through, unfortunately.
Yes.
He gets attacked by a swarm of walkers. And then later on, you see Michonne down by the creek, and you see her just wipe the words right off. So you see that, like, sometimes, like, you can't actually mean what you say.
Exactly. But she's still trying. I did like the part where Michonne puts Heath in his place.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like, you people don't care about us and whatever. And Michonne basically just kind of cut him down. It was like, you didn't have to endure what we had to endure. We're still here. We didn't leave you when we could have. Because they could have just up and left and they would have all been fucked.
Right.
So I like that. It was definitely a Michonne heavy episode. And she's definitely growing as a leader too. More things that I liked about The Walking Dead. It was action packed and there was walkers galore.
Oh yeah.
So that's always good, and it's been like that for the whole season so far. All 3 episodes.
Yeah, which you kind of miss from the past few.
Yeah.
Few seasons, that is.
The past few seasons. Yeah. There were seasons in there where it was like
Politics.
It was all politics, and you wouldn't see a walker for like 4 episodes. And now it's like there's thousands of them, and it's just action start to finish, and that's the kind of Walking Dead that I like. That's the Walking Dead that I want. So that was good. The whole episode I thought was fantastic. And then Rick in this episode, he was great too, especially with the RV. We have him. He gets attacked at the end.
Yep.
Gripping moment because you don't know what's gonna happen. Anything else you enjoyed with the episode?
No, that's pretty much it. The only thing I hope is that I hope Rick closed the door to the RV at the very last moment of the episode. Yeah. So I hope he at least did that. It didn't seem like he did.
Yeah, a couple things happened to him. We'll talk about that in the predictions.
Yes.
I did like the way that Glenn went, but we'll talk about that soon. Let's talk about the bad. So, there's not a lot of bad. What did we not like about the episode?
Alright, I'm getting a little tired of the smaller people of Alexandria that were in that group, and they're just repeating the same type of formula, which is like, Rick is the one that sent us to die! I'm gonna go run off in the direction to get away from this so I don't die!
And get eaten by
I died!
It does seem like every episode there's this new one-off character that's like, Rick is evil! And then it's just like they're dead. Which it does kind of get a little repetitive.
It's still funny every time.
It is funny.
It's kind of like the red shirts of Walking Dead a little bit. It's like talking shit about Rick, getting to die soon.
And then the other thing I didn't really like that much was Daryl's part in this episode felt unneeded.
Yeah.
Like I get what him and Abraham and Sasha were doing, where like they had to leave it, but then Daryl's like, I gotta go help. And he just like goes in the giant circle. Like you never see, maybe if he got somewhere and they showed him do something, and then he's like, I have to go back. Well, but it's like he just kind of drove off and then he just drove back.
Well, there was a couple walkie-talkie talks saying, I'm here, what's going on?
Yeah.
But he didn't really do anything.
It was unneeded,
yeah.
I thought. But it didn't really bother me for the episode. It's just, if we're looking at bad, yeah. Okay, so let's get into the predictions. First, we're gonna give a couple predictions, and then we'll end with Glenn. So, Rick, two things. One,
The cut on his hand.
he cuts his hand, and it looks like he
little-
may have got Walker blood in it, which in the past, that's never really been
an issue.
An issue, yeah.
But you see Rick look at it a couple times, like, and not just by a cut wise, but you see him just look at it far too much often than he usually would.
I was under the impression that it was just a really bad cut, and that's why he was looking at it.
I don't know. It just seemed like there was a little bit more to it. It just felt like it. So
I was thinking that maybe because he got Walker blood in it, he might have to cut off his hand or whatever. Which in the comics he does lose a hand.
But yet, that's what I find weird because they all have the Walker. They all have the DNA of them. They just have to die. But yet, when they get bit, that activates it more.
It speeds up the process.
So that's when, he cut his hand and he got blood in. So I know it shouldn't work 28 days later.
You know they've, swallowed blood before because of, killing people and it sprays everywhere and whatever. So it's so I don't know if that is really going to be a factor of blood being in the hand. But it's possible because he did look at it a lot. But I just think it was just a really bad cut.
Possible. But
deep
I just think, there's a little bit more to it somehow.
Maybe. And then Rick does he does kill the two people that attack him in the trailer, and then he sees in the rearview mirror that they're gonna get the jump on him, but he shoots through the trailer and the RV doesn't start, and now the herd's coming. What's gonna happen to Rick?
Well, like I said, I hope he closes the door. That way he's at least safe from the barricade. Because if he's quiet, they're just gonna walk right past.
Possibly. I think they're still gonna probably.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be a couple 5
Walker
or 6.
pound on it like they normally do with everything.
And then they they just go on their merry way, just like how Rick was in that tank in the very first season.
Mm-hmm.
They just walk away after a while.
I think he's gonna get saved by something. I don't know what, and I have no prediction for that part. But I think something's gonna happen where either a new person or a new group or someone's gonna pull up in a car or something.
It might be just be Darryl and Abraham.
Could be
just pulling up and just taking control of the swarm again. That's just gonna swarm right back.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Glenn. What everyone's waiting for.
Okay, so let's do a little recap. Shit's not going well for Nicholas and Glenn. They were going to burn a building to distract walkers, yada yada.
Turns out the building's already burnt.
Yeah, several buildings already burnt.
Yes.
So I guess they tried this method a little too many times. So they end up getting cornered. And their only means of escape was climb on top of the dumpster.
Which isn't really escape, it's just kind of
and Nicholas has
trapped.
Right, and Nicholas has been not too well in the head in this episode, especially since he found a former teammate of his.
He found a bunch of his former teammates, I believe.
So yeah, exactly. So he goes through a little psychosis action.
He was definitely going through PTSD.
So he just takes the gun in his head and he just says thank you to Glenn, pulls the trigger. His body falls on Glenn. And proceeds to be eaten, and looks like Glenn's been eaten too.
It looks like Glenn's being eaten.
Keyword.
Now there's everyone and their mothers on the internet giving their theory of what's going to happen,
right,
and we are going to give ours too. So right now, I loved Glenn as a character. It's not to say that I wanted to see him die. I actually was waiting to see him die the way he dies in the comics because it's such an iconic death. I thought they were going to go with that. But from what we have now, this is his seeming death. But is he really dead, or is it just that they're eating, Nicholas's guts and Nicholas off of him?
Well, I could see that, but it's just... Alright, I went and replayed the footage so many times that I really want Glenn to actually die this way, honestly. I really want him to die this way, because that way it would seem like a meaningless death, because...
Not meaningless, meaningful, you mean?
No, wasn't that... No, because he didn't really have that much meaning to this. It was all just by an accident. Sure, he saved Nicholas's life, and, he could have redeemed himself.
I guess, yeah.
But it didn't really fall through with it. So, what happens when things don't fall through, you land face first on the ground.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
Well, he landed back first.
Whatever. But as someone said to, I think it was either Michonne or or maybe it was Maggie, but he said like your kindness is gonna get you killed one day.
Yeah,
This would have been This would have been like how he kind of should have died in the show.
Because he's so selfless that this is how he went.
Exactly, and it shows The Walking Dead. Like sometimes someone could die, someone you hold dear in a meaningful way, and sometimes in a non-meaningful way. Because that's how life happens. Shit happens.
Especially in The Walking Dead. When it's the zombie apocalypse. I agree with you 100% on all of that. I think that this is a good death for him, even though there's no real meaning for it. Like, nothing came of it.
Right.
I still think that it's something that is believable in the way that he, would die because of what he does.
Exactly. But
Go ahead.
When I look through the footage again, you see something else on top of Glenn being eaten, because it wasn't his shirt color. It was the jacket that Nicholas was wearing, and the way that he was being eaten was by his chest, but you see lower intestines being pulled out. So you know that's Nicholas's body, and Glenn's just screaming of like, holy shit! And you just see like Glenn starts to get more bloody, sure, but then like the camera zooms out into, you see a sea of walkers in a circle, but you still see Glenn's face, and you see him just slightly crawling underneath the dumpster that they were on top of. And before you say like, oh, there's no way he could fit, yes and no, because when you look back when they're running through, you can see there's a gap on the right side of the dumpster that looks like could be enough for Glenn to fit through, but on the left side, it was completely blocked off for some reason.
I can see The Walking Dead do this, and that's why I'm 50-50 on it, because it's like, he could be dead, he could escape. If he escapes, I think that's kind of stupid. Just because it's like, it's too far-fetched. And it is like, with that many walkers, there's no way you would get out of it. It's such a cop-out. Like, so I kind of hope he died this way. Because if he escapes, it's just kind of like, they're like, he's dead. No, he's not. Gotcha. And it's like, I don't know. I think it's so, that's kind of cheesy.
Exactly. But they also played sad music when it happened. So that's why I'm like, I want Glenn to be dead that way. But if they would have played like normal, like, music, how like all the characters die, it's like bum 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 bum, throbbing and everything like that, then that would make me believe that Glenn could survive. But since it played like little somber music, I'm like,
because he's the fan favorite and everyone loves him.
He's been there since season 1.
Yep.
So that's why I'm like, maybe he did die that way. But once again, I looked at the footage. It looked like he escaped through unscathed.
Which wouldn't happen. So that's my feelings on it.
But do you think he will die in the comic book way if he does live then, or do you think like
I hope that's how he goes.
But I don't know.
It's so iconic.
But that's the thing though. Then when it actually happens, it's gonna, I don't know. It's just gonna be like a little less of a feeling when it does.
That's true.
Because it's like, oh, fool me once, shame me, fool me twice. It's like, this.
The way that Glenn dies in the comics, if you're unaware, is he dies by a villain by the name of Negan, who is the leader of the Saviors, who has a baseball bat and
goes eeny, meeny, miny, moe,
and cracks Glenn in the face and beats him to death in the face with a baseball bat.
While all of his friends are watching, including Maggie.
Yeah. And Negan's one of a very, very, very big, popular villain, possibly the most popular villain in Walking Dead.
Next, maybe more than the Governor, actually.
Yeah, maybe more than the Governor. So, it's very iconic from the comic, and that I thought they were going to bring into the show. And like you said, if he got away this time, it's kind of like...
But that's the thing,
doesn't mean as much now. I mean, he'll still die.
Exactly, but if Glenn would have died here, which I know he didn't, but if he did, someone would have to take his place with that, and there's only 2 people I could think that would take his place, and that would either be Carol or that would be Daryl.
What do you mean, take his place is like going on runs and stuff?
No. Hit with a baseball bat.
Hit with the baseball bat. Yeah, that's
those are the only 2 I can see, because that would definitely put more of a same type of feeling that would happen.
Yeah, they might just switch characters out.
They've done it before.
But we're running a little long, so that's what we thought. Please leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Is Glenn dead? Is Glenn not dead? What's going to happen to Rick? If you like what you saw here, please subscribe, like, and favorite the video as well. And then also check out our other sections, our other reviews, and everything over on our channel. So we will see you over there.
Bye-bye.